Background. My parents divorced when I, 16-year-old female, was around 4 years old. My mom started dating Jeff when I was 6, and she married him when I was 7. Jeff has a daughter named Mia, 15-year-old female. Jeff has sole custody of Mia, so she always lived with Mom and Jeff. I split my time between my mom and my dad, but when I was 10, my dad died, and so I ended up moving in with my mom and Jeff full-time. From the time we met, Mia saw us as sisters. She always wanted a sister, so I guess it was easy for her. But I never felt that way. I never felt like I was missing a sibling, and never secretly craved one. So, we were never on the same page. We're also very different. She's more outgoing and loves being active. I'm way more introverted and prefer indoor activities. Mia will act like she doesn't care what we do as long as we can hang out, but then she complains about doing things I like. I never want to or ask her to hang out. It's usually just when I'm told I have to. Mia can be naive and selfish. She thought that because she wanted me all the time, I had to stop going to my dad's place. For 3 years, she kept insisting that I wasn't allowed to go. She was rude to my dad the few times they met. After he died, she thought she could decide that I was sharing her room instead of using mine. Then there's my stuffed animal. My dad bought it for me when I was a baby, and I always took it with me everywhere I stayed overnight. I brought it back and forth between both homes, and after my dad died, it stayed with me at my mom's house, or went with me to my grandparents' place when I spent the night. Mia always wanted to share it. She would try to say that she got to sleep with it. Jeff would ask me if she could borrow it, and I always said no, never. Then, after my dad died, she got even more annoying about it, and my mom tried to set up a schedule for it. I lost my temper, and my mom backtracked on that idea. Even today, she still tries to make it a shared possession. I don't let her see it and keep it on me at all times. Even at school, it's always in my backpack. I know people will say that this is a typical sibling relationship, and I guess it is, but I don't love her or consider her as my family, and I never have. Recently, for school, we had to do this family history project. It could be about whoever we considered family, and I mostly wrote about my dad and my paternal family. I did mention that I had no siblings. I hardly mentioned my mom, and never mentioned Jeff or Mia. The night I finished, my mom and Jeff decided they wanted to look over both of our homework assignments, and Mia decided to read mine over my mom's shoulder. I was in the bath, and when I came downstairs, I found Mia crying, and my mom and Jeff were both angry. Mia said that I should have mentioned her, and my mom and Jeff said that I didn't think of Mia's feelings at all with my homework. Mia tried to avoid me for a few days, and she expected me to say that I missed her and apologize. When I didn't do that, she and my mom told me that I should feel way worse and how I never should have written any of it. My mom said that I declared myself an only child when I haven't been since I was 6. Am I the a hole? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your mom found someone to spend her life with. Good for her. It would be optimal if all the extra family members meshed as well, but it's ridiculous of the parents to try and mandate it. Mia's behavior is especially over the top. She seems aggressively possessive of you for no clear reason, and her claims on your very personal possessions, stuffy, your actions, visiting your dad, and your personal space, sharing a room, border on Looney Tunes. Your feelings about the situation are understandable and completely normal. Their attempts to force you into a relationship with Mia, a relationship you never wanted, are not helping. Not the jerk, NTA. Comment 2. Not the jerk. Mom, Jeff, you are failures. You've been forcing me to shoulder Mia's emotions because you're too lazy to actually parent. Not only that, you forced me to do it while grieving a parent. Mom, you chose Jeff and Mia, I did not. Only a narcissist would expect me to have the same feelings about her choices as her. That's great for you, but I did not and would not choose these people. Someone isn't my family just because you sleep with their dad. Sorry doesn't work like that. Maybe you should focus less on trying to guilt me every second of my life and get Mia therapy because she's deeply unwell. Now for the update. Hey Reddit. It's been 3 months since I last posted about my family drama, and boy, do I have an update for you all. Buckle up, because things have gone from tense to downright explosive. After the whole family history project fiasco, things at home were icy, to say the least. Mia was avoiding me like the plague, and my mom and Jeff were giving me the silent treatment. I thought it couldn't get any worse, but oh, was I wrong. A few weeks ago, we had a family dinner for Jeff's birthday. It was supposed to be a nice evening, but halfway through, Mia dropped a bombshell. She announced that she had applied to a summer exchange program in another country. The room went silent. Mia looked at me with this expectant gaze, like she was waiting for me to beg her not to go. But I didn't. I just said, "That's cool," and went back to eating. You could cut the tension with a knife. The next day, I found out that Mia hadn't actually applied for the program. She made it up to get a reaction out of me. When I confronted her about it, she broke down and admitted she felt like I didn't care about her at all. I didn't know what to say. I mean, we've never been close, but I didn't think she'd go to such lengths for attention. In the midst of all this, my mom tried to mend fences by organising a Sisters' Day out for Mia and me. I went along with it, hoping it would smooth things over. We went shopping, had lunch, and even saw a movie. It was okay, I guess. But then, as we were heading home, Mia insisted we take a detour to our old neighbourhood where my dad and I used to live. Standing outside the house where I'd spent my early childhood, memories flooded back. Mia started talking about how she wished she could have met my dad, how she felt like she missed out on having a real sister because he was gone. It was a strange moment, and for the first time, I saw a different side of Mia. I didn't know what to make of it. Just when I thought things might be getting better, another curveball came my way. Remember my stuffed animal, the one my dad gave me? Well, one day, it went missing. I tore my room apart looking for it, but it was nowhere to be found. I was devastated. That's when Mia came into my room, holding the stuffed animal. She said she'd found it in the living room and thought it was hers. I was furious. How could she think it was hers after all the times I told her it wasn't? We had a huge fight. I yelled, she yelled, and then Jeff got involved. He tried to mediate, but things just escalated. In the heat of the moment, Mia blurted out that she'd taken the stuffed animal on purpose. She wanted to see if I'd fight for it, to prove that I cared about something that connected us through my dad. I couldn't believe it. I felt so betrayed. The aftermath was a mess. My mom was upset that we were fighting again, and Jeff was stuck in the middle, trying to keep the peace. I started spending more time at my grandparents' place to avoid the drama at home. Now, here's where the misunderstanding comes in. Last week, I came home from school to find Mia in tears again. She'd been looking through some old photo albums and found pictures of me and my dad. She thought I'd put them there to hurt her, to remind her that she'd never be a part of those memories. But the truth was, I hadn't touched those albums in years. My mom had been the one to take them out, hoping to find a way to connect our blended family by showing Mia more about my dad's side. It was a well-intentioned move that backfired spectacularly. So, here we are. Mia's upset, thinking I'm trying to exclude her from my past. My mom's trying to fix things she didn't break, and I'm just tired of all the drama. I never wanted any of this. I just wanted to keep my memories and the few things I have left of my dad to myself. Is that so wrong? I set up college funds for all 3 kids with one condition, and daughter wants to attend community college. BC, it waives tuition fees. Oh boy, she missed the deadline to enroll in most universities. My ex-wife and I, 51-year-old male, have 3 children together. We have 2 sons who are 15 and 13, and a daughter who is now 18. Their mother and I agreed on a 50-50 custody arrangement after we split up and have stuck to it until this issue arose. My daughter hasn't spoken to me since last summer due to an argument she and I had about college. I have college funds for all 3 of my kids and had an agreement with them that they would receive it after graduating high school as long as they attended a state university, not community college. I wanted to set them up for success later on, and I knew future employers would take them more seriously if their degree was from a legitimate 4-year college. Last spring, my daughter and I got into an argument about this. She was filling out financial forms for college and asked me for my tax returns. While we were going over the forms, I noticed that she put down a local community college. And when I pointed it out, she told me that her mother encouraged her to because they waived the tuition fees for first-time college students, so we wouldn't have to pay for any of it. I told her that she shouldn't be asking me for my information if she was going to use it to do something that I've made clear I don't support. She told me that she thought I just meant I was against paying for it, and I told her that I had been crystal clear and that she knew what I had meant, and that she was being sneaky and taking the easy way out. Eventually, I stormed out. I figured that it would blow over by the next day, as it usually does when we have a fight. However, she told me a few days later that she reached out to the financial aid company and asked to submit the forms with only her mother's financial information. They ended up approving her request, but it was a long process and didn't get completed until after the deadline to enroll in most universities for the fall semester. As a result, she wasn't able to start college last semester and ended up getting a job instead. My daughter told me that since I clearly wasn't going to help her, that she would move in with her mother full-time after she turned 18, which was during the summer, and she started college this semester. I told her that was ridiculous and that she was being petty and that she sabotaged herself. And if she had just enrolled in a real college like I told her to, she would have been able to complete the paperwork without a problem. She told me that she hated me and was cold and distant to me until she moved out permanently. That was all during spring and summer of last year, and my daughter hasn't spoken to me since. I pretty much forgot about it until my youngest son told me this morning that he misses her being there when they spend the week at my house, and how he wishes I hadn't been so harsh. In retrospect, I might have been too harsh with it. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You are the jerk. 100% and jerk. Going to community college was the best decision I ever made. I got my general education requirements out of the way at a quarter of the cost. And now I'm the president/CEO of a company. You should have been supportive and proud of her, and instead, you treated her like she was beneath you. I'm not sure you can repair your relationship with her after what you did, but I hope the first words out of your mouth are, I'm sorry. Comment 2. You are the jerk. Yeah, community college is a bad plan if you're trying to go for a high-power academic career, or planning to apply for a top-tier medical school or graduate program. Is that what she's planning? Why is this entire conversation about where she's going and not about what she's planning to study and why she thinks community college is a better fit? I pretty much forgot about it. It being your oldest child? Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a crazy few days and I've got quite the update for you all. So, after my youngest son mentioned missing his sister, I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to make things right. I decided to reach out to my ex-wife to see if she could help me mend things with my daughter. She agreed to talk to our daughter about meeting up with me. The next day, my ex-wife called me with news that made my heart sink. My daughter had been seeing someone, a guy she met at her job. This guy was older, and my ex-wife didn't approve of him. She thought he was bad news, and she was worried. I felt a pang of guilt, thinking that if I hadn't pushed my daughter away, maybe she wouldn't have ended up in this situation. I was determined to fix things, so I asked my ex-wife to set up a dinner for the four of us, me, her, our daughter, and this new guy. I wanted to meet him and show my daughter that I was willing to be a part of her life, no matter what. The dinner was tense from the start. My daughter was standoffish, and her boyfriend had an arrogance about him that rubbed me the wrong way. But I kept my cool, trying to reconnect with my daughter. I asked about her job, her plans for the future, and I even apologized for the argument we had about college. That's when things took a turn. Her boyfriend started bragging about how he was going to start his own business and how my daughter was going to help him with it. He made a snide remark about how she didn't need college when she had him. I saw red, but I bit my tongue. My daughter seemed to shrink a little at his words, and I realized she wasn't as happy as she was pretending to be. After dinner, my daughter asked to speak to me alone. We walked to a nearby park, and she broke down. She admitted that her boyfriend was controlling and that she felt trapped. She said she missed her family and that she was sorry for how things had turned out. I hugged her, and we both cried. It was a moment I'll never forget. I offered to help her leave him, but she said she needed to figure things out on her own. She wasn't ready to come home yet, but she promised to keep in touch. It was a small victory, but it was something. The next day, my sons were over, and I told them about the dinner. They were shocked, but happy to hear that their sister was talking to me again. We spent the day together, playing video games and just being a family. It felt like old times, and I could see the joy in their eyes, but the happiness was short-lived. That evening, my daughter called me, crying. Her boyfriend had found out about our talk and had kicked her out. She had nowhere to go. I told her to come to my house, and within an hour, she was there, her belongings in a couple of bags. She's been staying with me for the past 2 days, and it's been a joyride of emotions. We've talked a lot, and she's opened up about how she felt after our argument. She felt abandoned and like I didn't believe in her. I apologized, and we've been working through it. My sons are thrilled to have their sister back, and it's like we're a complete family again. But there's a sadness there too. My daughter is starting over, and she's unsure about her future. She's considering enrolling in college next semester, but she's scared. As for me, I'm just grateful to have her back in my life. I've realized that my approach to parenting needs to change, and I'm working on being more supportive and less controlling. Mom resents me for Dad not staying with her after one night stand. Now her husband Greg disrespects Dad and tries to be the father figure. I refuse to cook or spend time with them. My parents had a one-night stand, and I'm the result of that. The relationship with my mom has always been strained because she resents my dad for not being with her after they made me, something she has voiced on and off for my whole life. Even when I, 16-year-old male, was like 5, I remember her ranting about how selfish my dad was for that. She engaged in parental alienation a lot over the years, but the courts never did anything, and my dad did try to fight against it in court. When I was 7, my mom got with her husband Greg, and they have kids together. Greg is a jerk, and an even bigger jerk than my mom, which I wasn't sure was possible for a while, but you know. He has talked about my dad being really girly, and how he's worried Dad will turn me gay. He and Mom tried to sue for custody of me, stating they could give me a 2-parent home, and Greg even tried to argue that he was a better dad to me than my dad was. They lost this battle, of course, but that was the kind of nonsense they do. Greg would get upset when I told him he wasn't my dad, and I wasn't going to call him Dad or Pops. He said I should be calling him that, and I should want to be his son, since he's such a man, and he's with my mom. My dad was the parent I could vent to, and never hear a bad word said about Mom or Greg. He would never shame me for what I said. He wouldn't push his opinion on me. He would just listen, and he would encourage me to write about it if I needed to. He tried to put me in therapy when I was 8, but my mom blocked it, and the courts were like, just leave it be, since he's doing fine in school. Dad bought me a journal to help me write stuff out, and it helped. Greg found it in my bag one day and acted like my dad had dressed me in sexualized clothing or something. He was so disgusting about a journal being for girls and not something you give to a son. So I don't like Mom or Greg, and I really don't spend any time with their kids, aka my half-siblings. I know the kids aren't to blame, but I try spending as little time in that house as I can. My dad taught me a lot of life skills, and cooking is one of them. I also know how to sew up holes in clothes and stuff, and do general DIY stuff. I'm actually a pretty good cook, and sometimes I cook for Dad or our extended family, though usually it's with Dad's help when others are over, because he says I'm a kid and shouldn't have to do it all. A few weeks ago, Greg decided to stalk my dad's Instagram and saw posts Dad made about food I cooked for us. Greg told my mom, and they were all kinds of angry that I never cook at their house, and I have never ever helped them with dinner or fed anyone there. They told me I should be doing that stuff for them too, and I said no. They wanted one good reason why, and I told them I would never cook for people I dislike, and that's them. Mom went on about how that's Dad's fault, and Greg was yelling that I was disrespecting him in his own home. I told him to let me go home then, and they were like, no. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm unsure how to go about this. Ask Dad to look into it. But you are old enough to decide where you want to live, and I'm sure a judge will take it into serious consideration after reading everything you wrote. Exactly what you need to tell the judge. They are toxic people. Greg is just creepy and hateful. Journals are not just for girls. As for Mom, I do not agree with any woman who alienates her child from their father, unless serious abuse is taking place, and they have courts for that. I'm sorry you have to deal with the nonsense they dish out. Just remember, this too shall pass. I wouldn't cook for them either, neither would appreciate you anyway. Good luck, and hang in there. Not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Greg and your mom sound like toxic, selfish people. It's no wonder you would limit your interactions with them as much as you can. They didn't ask you to cook for them before. They only want you to now out of jealousy. Your dad, on the other hand, sounds like a great father and role model. It's great that you have him to help you weather the storm. Now, for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to say, things have taken some unexpected turns. After the whole cooking fiasco, things at my mom's house got even more tense. Greg, who's always been a thorn in my side, took it to a whole new level. He started picking fights over the smallest things, like if I left a glass on the counter or didn't say thank you loud enough. It was like he was looking for reasons to be mad at me. But the real heartbreak came out of nowhere. My dad, who's always been my rock, got into a huge argument with my mom over the phone. I overheard him saying that he was tired of her trying to control everything, including me. He said he was done playing nice. I'd never heard my dad raise his voice before, and it shook me to my core. The next thing I knew, he was packing a bag and telling me he needed to clear his head for a few days. I felt like my world was falling apart. Meanwhile, my mom and Greg were on a mission to make me part of the family. They insisted I join them for family dinners and participate in household chores. One night, they even tried to force me to cook dinner for everyone. I flat out refused, which led to Greg getting in my face, his breath hot with anger. He told me I was ungrateful and that I owed them for taking care of me. I shot back that I didn't owe him anything, especially not respect. The tension at home was unbearable. I started spending more time at my dad's empty apartment, just to get away from Greg's constant badgering. It felt like a safe haven, even though my dad's absence was a constant reminder of the chaos. Then, one evening, my mom sat me down for a serious talk. She told me that she and Greg were considering a separation. She said that the stress of dealing with me and my attitude was part of the reason their marriage was on the rocks. I couldn't believe she was trying to pin this on me. I was so angry, I couldn't even speak. I just got up and walked out of the room. A few days later, my dad came back. He looked tired and worn out, but he hugged me like he never wanted to let go. He apologized for leaving so suddenly and promised it wouldn't happen again. I wanted to believe him, but the fear that he might leave again lingered in the back of my mind. Things didn't get any better with my mom and Greg. They were constantly at each other's throats, and I was always caught in the middle. Greg would throw my dad's name around like an insult, and my mom would just stand there saying nothing to defend me or my dad. One night, the inevitable happened. Greg and my mom had a blowout argument that ended with Greg storming out of the house. He didn't come back for days. My mom was a mess, and for the first time, I saw her as vulnerable. She cried a lot and kept saying she didn't know what to do. I felt bad for her, but I also felt angry that she was trying to make me feel guilty for their problems. In the midst of all this, I found out from one of my half-siblings that Greg had been saying some really nasty things about my dad behind his back. Things about how he was a bad influence on me, and how I'd end up just like him if I wasn't careful. I was furious. I confronted Greg about it when he finally came back, and we had a huge shouting match. It ended with him saying that maybe it would be better if I just lived with my dad full-time. I was stunned. Part of me wanted to leave and never look back, but another part of me was scared of what that would mean for my relationship with my mom and my half-siblings. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.